This is your August season, Leo season 2024 reading. All information to work with me one-on-one is below, as well as where you can find my podcast, where you can find the extended video, which will be out as this comes out. And the link will be for specifically the Aries extended video. If you're looking for it, that will be on Patreon. Numerous ways to get in touch to work together. I am a tarot reader, an astrologer, and I specifically like to life coach with astrology. So if there's anything that you're interested in, or to get to know me and the way that I think and the way that I am and aware, you can find in the podcast. New segment out every month. This week, excuse me, I plan to have the Leo season, heart and back, because I like to dive deep into the metaphysics and what that is, and to explore it, because that's what's healed a lot of me. And so I like to share that with people, because it's not the norm, but it's something that different modalities use, but I feel like could be used more. And I'm holding these two very intense cards as I say this. Can I be honest? I tried to do your reading last week. I sat down and tried 4 different times. This doesn't happen all the time. And I was like, fuck it. So I went and did the Gemini reading. Came out, no problem. Everyone does this. They avoid people, right? Or they avoid situations subconsciously when you're not ready to deal with it. So I can tell now why you've been not ready to deal with it. And it may not be very apparent even to the people that know you and are close to you, but you're going through something so deeply transformative right now. And this season, I don't even think it's come full circle yet. I think you're still really in the thick of things, because whatever's happening is happening fast. It's transforming fast. And I was just listening to, it's this woman who is a human design reader. If you're curious about it, it's very interesting. It tells you how you work, like your energy works in the world, and I find it very valuable information. But basically I was just talking about how time, hey, here you are too. We're gonna use both. How time kind of just slows down. And then there are times where time feels like it's moving so fast. And we're in a time right now, and she's fully in it, and I do definitely feel this way, where with the Pisces, like, just side note, we'll get back here, with the Pisces and Neptune, the Pisces and Saturn, and Neptune and Saturn in Pisces, both of them in retrograde, there is a thought that this is why, like, it's not checks and balances, but everything counts. So if you have a pure intention, this is the best way to describe it, because this is what I'm describing here, with what I was saying before, is that everything is in perfect timing. But right now we're in such a condensed, and this is why it feels so dense. This is why people are exhausted, because if you're overly exhausted and exerting yourself in a way that is against who you are supposed to be, it could set back the time just a little bit. And when you show up more as you are, whether it's saying no to things, saying yes to things, saying, even in conversations, even just giving your energy, if you feel like you need a shift and a change due to your energy, now is the best time to do that, whether you like it. This month is full of surprises, and I think for you, it was a surprise to come into this month and now have to face head on what wasn't as real as you thought. There's a vulnerability to, the best parts about you is that you are very vulnerable in all. Whether that brings you to have more of a harsh exterior in certain ways, like, but in love you're so in it that it's almost like you're soft, but you like to be upfront, be honest, be vulnerable, be whoever it is that you are. And this is a very Mars and Pluto reading, but very much Mars. And what you may realize is that right now, this is the moment where you could avoid everything, right? You could avoid facing what's changing in your life. But I have to be honest, if you do one of those things that you do without clearing things up first, it's probably not going to hit you very well at the end. This is a time for you to clear up a lot, and that's why it's like a deeper transformational time where, you know, you may have felt this coming for a while, and you may even been preparing it, and you may even be well prepared for it, but when it comes time to face it head on, the timing of it all, because like you're great at like really getting to something, right? You're really great at the even momentum you're great at, because you know that inspiration will eventually strike. But when you're en route to plan something, you know, even a year down the line, sometimes you like to do that, but you also, there's this nervousness that you can get because you know how much things change and shift, or you know how you can be. For some people, some of you Aries, that's more of an unhealthy response to your ego. Because as you mature, as an Aries matures, and you could be on this timeline, on this feeling right now, you could be there already, or just like keeping the momentum of this part of you that faces something, owns up to it, and then there's this clarity that comes. Because if you don't, it's just falling behind in your subconscious, especially if it's anxiety. Because this, of course, there's going to be some static energy here. Just like lots of static energy. Mars is also in Aries or Gemini. And weirdly enough, you may feel like you're not being pulled in a different direction. You're actually, because weirdly enough in this fire sign season, you are going through a certain transformation, perhaps with the creation areas of your body, or wherever you're at in terms of a job or working on your own thing. You're transforming through this creation, Aries risings especially. That when you face this and you face the part of your ego that thinks maybe you're supposed to maybe even be somewhere that you're not, you're here. You're right where you are. I've discovered too, and this may take this or leave this because I don't always bring this kind of stuff up in here. Aries is in the house of my subconscious in the 12th house, so I'm here for you. This is also the season of the inner child and what that looks like. And for you, you are the child. You know, you are the birth, you are the fool, you are the beginning of it all. But what does that look like when you're maturing? What does that look like through commitment, through aging, right? Through, not that you have to age, that's not what I'm saying. And sometimes I think what you were in front of is almost like a distorted mirror. I think Mars and Gemini is bringing up this distorted mirror of how you communicate, how you've been communicating actively and how you've been communicating mentally and even vocally with people, and what's not adding up. And it reminds me of body dysmorphia. And a lot of people have body dysmorphia. And what happens is that you can't accept yourself where you're at. So there's always these distorted views of the self. So regardless, because every mirror can appear different, but I'm just talking about like your reflection in your relationships, your reflection in who you are, how you show up, how that is either supportive or not so supportive, what you've been, certain things that you've been stubborn about, there's just this clearing process that you're going through, and for the better, actually, yeah, for the better for it. Because sometimes I forget that I want to pull from the bottom, and with your, I'm glad I didn't. Because what you really want is this adventure, and you want a clear head, and you want a clear mind. But this is something that I just learned about Kabbalah recently, and it makes sense in manifestation too. If you want to look at certain manifestation systems, they're all kind of aligned, and I just love it so much. It's this, and you may want to tap more into faith and just learn about faith, or dive deep into one even, because there is something that when you feel something and you connect to something, even if you don't go into it for long, but you re-listen, or you listen, or you go back to it and it makes sense, or you try it out, you can continue with that energy for a very long time. And this is the time where this is you committing to a vision. This is committing to yourself. And before you could do that, you needed to address some things, so it's not just you acting out of fear. Because, you know, you can act out of fear and do something risky, and then it's a gamble, and then it's not a strategic gamble. And sometimes it does work, because you know that saying where it's like, I'd rather have to ask for forgiveness than permission. But this time it's asking for permission from yourself first, so you don't have to forgive yourself. And I think you're starting to see it that way more so, because it could have been possible that you, like, I mean, for the reason for this tower and death moment is like, that's what the energy is really giving you momentum. So it's slowing you down so much to address things that feel so big or dramatic, just so that you can clear out some shit. And it's being vulnerable with what you've been supplying your tank with, supplying your worthy, meaning like your worthiness, right? What that looks like. Your assets, other people's, the resources. And now you're able, towards the end of the month, especially as, and we have even the moon here, so we're going to take this out actually this way as well, especially as we go into the next part, because look at, this is the clearest, probably one of the clearest readings I've had, and Mercury has went into retrograde, right? This is also about you clearing things up, even in your work life. This is an overall personal month for you specifically, and how you, what's affected your enjoyment, why you feel like you can't truly enjoy. Well, it's probably because you're not addressing something perhaps within you, and it's really stuck within your mind. So to be able to loosen that up, sometimes we have to get triggered, which is kind of breaking it down. We're breaking down our barriers, and that's what I've been seeing more, is like a trigger is just breaking down your barrier to what you're holding on to, what your expectation of something is, without the proper communication with yourself, with other people. Again, that permission first from yourself. And you may have to forgive yourself later with some things, because you can't know everything. You can't understand everything once you go. And I think you're getting a little bit more strategic at this time with, and honest with yourself about who you are. Because if you're not, it can be very easy to use this energy in a way that is just going to loop you back around. And that's with everyone right now. It's not just with you. But the fact that you are able to see that, you know, imagination can be a coping mechanism, but when at the end of the month, your imagination actually becomes this ability to commit deeper into what your journey is, to where you're going in this life, to what you're building in this life. And then towards the end of the month, you're going to see, and it's going to give you exactly what you need. Look at all this. To break free from the restraints. It's going to be very detailed and pinpointed of what you need to break away from all of the aspects in your life that have been, or whatever, not all the aspects of your life, I'm sorry, but where inspiration has been, because sometimes you have to become bored to become inspired. right? And that, in order for that to change and shift, and you need to feel heavy, because you're just such a light and energetic person regardless. But there's a heaviness that once enters your mind, because you do rule the crown and the head and the ego, and you're in an egoic season that is the heart, right? So there's a different kind of ego going on. The heart is like the patterns that make up who we are, and the brain is the system that holds those patterns in place, blah blah blah. That's my way of seeing it, by the way. I'm whatever. And so you're in this place where that's now, you're working together. So and this brings me back, when you set an intention about something, or you set a goal, and what I was going to say in Kabbalah or in certain manifestations, then your life is going to be tested in that way. So if you're looking for more of a direction that makes sense and that's clear for you, you're looking for clarity, or you're looking to understand something, you're going to be met with an energy that's going to bring you there. So again, it could be triggering you, or it could be or it even could be activating. That's another word you can use to clear up some things that you've really needed to clear up within your mind, and how that's affected your ability to commit, not only to people, but to yourself, in a way that gives you boundaries that you really need for this transformation. Like I was just saying to a friend yesterday, it's just like this new moon in Leo, the energy is very heavy. I didn't do any readings I wanted to. It was alive, and then it was just like exhaustion, and apparently there were some solar flares too. And it's interesting because the sun sign is in the moon sign, in this darkness. The sun can't always shine, right? And second of all, it seems as though that it's bringing our ego to this place where it becomes exhausted. Do you ever meet people who are just like, or talk to friends, or even find yourself in places where you're exhausted of a certain part of yourself, but you keep doing it, and it's just because it's making you even sharply aware, so that you can make the shift when you're ready, or you can address it behind the scenes and prepare yourself for those shifts. So there's some subconscious preparation needing to happen at this time in life, in terms of your work, what you're committing to next, because you may meet someone this month, for some of you, or in the next few months, or even at the end of the month, where you communicate extremely well together. Then all of a sudden you realize what all of this was for, even if it's only for your benefit, in terms of making you a better person, making you clear and intended, like what you really mean by what you're setting out to do, right? There's more meaning, there's more depth, there's more, some people don't like discipline, but you can be disciplined, but there's more devotion behind it. It's even more spiritual than when it once began, because you want it to be, if that's what you're wanting to bring in. But the spiritual is coming from your heart. It's coming from you dropping in, and whatever heaviness has been up here of understanding it in the body and what it means. It's like, oh, I need to go do something different. There's something but I can't just do that. That's the way of, and you can, and you may just, with like people in your life, relationships, but with work, there's a certain like thing you have to do before you just go. And maybe you've been preparing some people, but maybe those are the people you have to say, like, if they're upset with you, but if you're like, again, if you're not involved with them, or you're not involved with someone, this is just an opening where your intentions for what you're looking for people who are single, are becoming clearer, and you may meet someone around this full moon. But you also become keenly aware of how much energy and effort, maybe money, that you've put into something that wasn't working out. And when you meet the most amazing thing, or come into the right job, or connect with the right idea where you want to really get it done, it comes after really seeing clearly the parts of you left out, maybe. the parts of you longing to be acknowledged and paid attention to, because you realize that maybe you've been paying for it by not paying attention to it. And it's coming in to say, you know, whatever gave you a sense of control before, which is very Leo season, is not the same as it is now. Especially in places where you once thought were, again, in personal relationships, you may not feel the need to ultimately speak your mind or tell someone your plan before you start to do whatever said plan is, because you realize how much you weren't really yourself there. And this is something, and this is very specific, but this is something you really need to do for yourself. This is for your identity. And this is for your change. And you will see how letting go of this control of how you are maybe even perceived, how you are expected to be, even if people expect you to leave, it's not that you're leaving or, you know, jumping ship. It's your heart, and you're finally connected to a desire, this north node in Aries. You're finally connected to this desire to create a foundation, a family, and that may not be exactly in the same location that you're in or the same place in yourself that you are. And you're the type of person that sometimes needs to get away and have, weirdly enough, that alone time. People don't expect that of you, but be in a place where no one knows you. Maybe you do travel alone. Maybe you have a certain experience this month, but you're going to find that there is goodness and good people and good fortune with this, or underneath this, or around this. There is fertile ground that this brings you to because you're ready. That intention then starts to play out, and you may you may be asked to do things, and usually you would say yes, and now you're getting a chance to explore what it would look like to say no, or I'm not sure yet, or just set certain boundaries until you're ready to really have those conversations, because that can be difficult for you, because you can get really it's funny because you can be very, it depends on the person. This is a part of letting go some power dynamics too, which you're going to get into even more, because we had that Pluto as well with the Cap. We had that. We're going to pull out from the bottom of the deck and really go through that, because I'm really excited to get into that more, because it's the system that's transforming because you're transforming. So the I is shifting. So your life is now going on this different adventure. Now that we're coming to the end of the eclipses and your signs, in your sign in Libra, and we're going to be starting the Virgo Pisces eclipses are coming up, where Pisces is going to be in the North Node, which is for Aries rising, is your 12th house. So thinking of that, not thinking of that beforehand, but intuitively bringing that up, that's what you're preparing for, because they're coming up. And these moons are wanting us to shed, because healing, the power of healing and purpose are coming together. I'm really glad I waited. I'm excited to get into this next part. This is a powerful reading for you. And thank you for being here. All information is below. Let's get right into it.